Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Indie Game Movement, the podcast that talks about the marketing and business of indie games. This is episode 108, and I'm Andrew Pappas, one of your hosts. We have a few others joining us today. Some of you will remember these guys from the very beginning, the intro episode, and we have another new person that a lot of you may not be familiar with. And we're here today changing things up a bit. We're calling this our official holiday episode because in light of the holidays that are approaching us, there's a lot of deals and discounts going on. And in light of that, we figured, hey, this would be perfect to talk about the importance of discounting your indie game. So I just want to state that though we kind of go in detail about and what our thoughts are about providing discounts on your indie game, we really only scratch the surface. So please keep that in mind when you're listening to this. But I still think that we deliver a lot of value and insight in terms of how to go about applying a discount to your game, and it's really interesting stuff that I think we uncovered. So that's what we're going to be talking about right here today on Indie Game Movement. Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode. And today we're kind of going to mix things up a bit. And this is going to be a holiday special, and I have a few guests. It's actually the team. Some of you may have remembered our intro episode, which was forever ago, with Justin and Dicky. They're actually here today. And I know some of you are probably wondering, like, hey, how come it's primarily been Andrew on the show and not Justin and Dicky? And to be quite honest, it's really difficult to coordinate people's times and everything, and then you have a guest that's in a completely different time zone. But they're here today with us. How's it going, guys?
Very good. Pretty well, thanks.
And we also have our podcast producer, Mustapha, with us as well. Mustapha, what's going on, buddy?
Living the dream.
All right, good. So, now what makes this a holiday special? Well, one, the format is really laid back. We're just here to have a good time, but we're still going to be talking about something that's probably important to everybody, which is about discounts. And should you discount your game, the benefits, the pros, the cons, all that stuff. But before we get into that, we gave her a quick intro, but I also want to go ahead and just kind of check in with everybody and see what they've been doing, like what kind of games you guys have been playing. Have you gone to any events recently? Dicky, I'll let you start it off.
Okay. I haven't been into any events lately. I mean, I will probably try to go to PAX East on the Saturday, but other than that, I don't have anything planned. Games-wise, I've been dabbling around, jumping around. It's my biggest issue is I have an attention deficit disorder when it comes to video games, I guess. Right now, mostly been playing a little bit of Battlefield 5. I like the feeling of the World War II guns recoiling and shooting people in the head with it. It's always fun. Then Black Desert Online. It's a little bit of a Korean grind, but sometimes those Korean grind games are senseless fun. So it's right where I am at right now with gaming.
Nice. All right, Mustapha, how about you?
Well, I have been digging into the new Smash game.
I figured you would
Smash
say
Brothers
that.
Ultimate. And it is absolute perfection.
Sweet. Justin?
I just got back from PAX Unplugged, where I played a bunch of board games for the weekend in Philly, which was pretty cool. And lately for video games, on Black Friday, I picked up a steering wheel, and I've been playing Gran Turismo Sport for the last couple weeks.
Oh, nice. No, was that the first PAX Unplugged you've been to?
No, it was the second one.
Okay, nice.
I went to the first one was last year.
Okay, right. That's right. I remember there was some, but
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Last year. Nice. Yeah, and for myself, not too much time to play games, but this time of the year, I kind of make it an annual tradition to just play some Skyrim. I gave in, bought the PS4 version of Skyrim, the special edition. I already own it on PS3, and I figured I should just probably kill, I don't know, like 120 plus more hours more again playing that. So that's all that I have been going on. So, yeah, lots of stuff going on. In other news, completely off the thing, we had the tree set up, and Leah had it fall on top of her.
Uh-oh.
Where were you?
Did she survive?
She survived.
Okay.
You were there?
I was not.
Oh boy!
So I couldn't take any blame. She couldn't like throw me under the tree.
No, I think
she was under the tree.
blame is that you weren't there.
Yeah, like that's
Where
your
was
sole
I to
job
catch
as
the tree?
husband is to protect her.
I guess, but she took a good picture of it. I don't know how if she was under the tree, but she did with the kids on either side, so it looked like them. Would have made a perfect, holiday card. Anyways, all right. So we got to know a little bit of what's going on in our lives right now, but we are just gonna dive right into it. And like I said before, how should you go about discounting your game? And that's what we're here to talk about now. And a big reason why we're talking about discounts this time of the year, obviously there was like Thanksgiving in the U.S., and right after Thanksgiving there's Black Friday, as Justin mentioned too. You got a good deal from that on a game. And also we have Cyber Monday. I think that's maybe more open to than just the U.S. because all these retailers feel like, we just got to create all these major retailer holidays so we can make more sales and stuff. And in line with that, obviously this kind of carries over into the gaming industry too. All these sales and stuff, and then so the question is, how important is it to discount your game? When should you discount your game? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And that's kind of what we're here discussing. So, I mean, I'll just open it up to you guys in particular. I know we were kind of brainstorming some ideas prior to this episode, but what do you think is the biggest thing on people's minds in terms of discounts, to gain more traction, and is that the focus? Let's just come to an idea of where are indie devs' mindsets when they're thinking about discounts?
For me, I think it seems more like they're just trying to get volume of players. They want to get more people playing the game so they can potentially get more feedback. And then from there, it actually depends on the game too. I mean, some games might have, microtransactions that you can follow up with. So if you can discount the price and then hit them with some microtransactions and stuff like that, it weighs out the cost, the gain, the revenue value. But there's definitely a lot of different reasons. So,
yeah, I think if you look at a lot of different games, you'll get different perspectives or different mindsets from the developer just by looking at how they operate their sales. Games like Cuphead, like a really high-profile game, was 15% off or something. And then there are other games, the dime a dozen indie games that discount themselves to 99% off or 90% off. So I think it's, you can kind of get into their mind's eye and see what their thought is, if they want volume or if they want, just not piss off their existing, customers that already paid a lot of money for it, or they don't want to devalue their game. Or
yeah, I mean, and you bring up some really interesting points there too. Mustapha, did you have anything else that you thought about in terms of just discounts as a whole or right out of the gate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you remember, Andrew, actually, we attended a panel kind of discussing this at PAX East. It was called Race to the Bottom, and it was excellent. But a lot of the focus was on how it's kind of cyclical at this point. It's not necessarily that independent developers want to be discounting their games very heavily, required to do so in order to remain competitive. A lot of the games that they're selling, at full price, just aren't able to sustain themselves in a market where it seems like a game comes out and or two, it's discounted, and then that kind of branches off into a waiting culture, right? A game comes out, you're not 100% sure on it. You say, I'll wait till it goes on sale, or maybe when it's discounted, I'll buy it. And then it becomes a situation where developers almost have to be discounting their games very heavily and very frequently in order to even have people purchasing the title in the first place.
Yeah, and I think that brings up an interesting point too, because the other day I was on Reddit, and this person the timing of this is kind of funny. It was actually just yesterday morning, and the person just posted a thread that was saying, hey, should I at launch discount my game? And I simply replied with, I mean, I can see why you would and stuff, but basically I would suggest no. And then I kind of went in a bit of a tangent, but talking about what the culture has been like, and it's not just the gaming culture too, in terms of purchasing of games and stuff. It's the whole retail culture, or just consumerism as a whole, and over time we've been setting all these expectations to consumers that, hey, there's always going to be a sale. It's just a matter of when, And I think creating that anticipation is a big strategy for retailers and stuff. But then trying to carry that over into not just the gaming industry, but other industries too, you see that it can have kind of, in a way, a detrimental effect, kind of what you were just talking about, Mustapha, about like race to the bottom. So then, like, one thing I kind of posed to him, and I know this is like impossible for anybody to take, is like, when you, is there a way to reset the culture in terms of having them think differently? And I almost want to say, no, there isn't, but I know that there's a lot of indie devs out there, some of the previous guests that I spoke with and other people I've been talking to, they are making that attempt, but is that a futile attempt? Is it a good one? I mean, that's what I'm trying to figure out too, because I'm with them, but I think it's a hard thing to tackle.
I think it's tough because, like with the race to the bottom, I mean, like different. I don't know how to explain this really. Different games are priced differently. Like the like you see mobile games, like, you know, I would spend $20 on or $40 on a 3DS game, but the exact same game comes out on mobile and I won't spend more than $5 on it. You know, so like there's different price points depending on the console, and then it's like which one they might not even be that much different. Alternatively, there's the barrier to entry for making video games has never been lower.
Right.
So video games are a dime a dozen. Good video games are not, but games in general, indie games, you know, I can go to Steam and I can find a list of 1,000 games that are priced under $1.
Yeah.
You know, none of them are probably good, but you can find them. Yeah. And then the other thing is bundles. Like I've been burned a couple times where I'll see a game on sale for like, you know, $20. I'm like, oh yeah, hell yeah, I'll buy that game. I've been wanting to play it. I'll buy it. Looks great. The next week it goes in a bundle where, you know, the bundle minimum price is like $5, and you're like, crap.
Yeah, there's definitely an oversaturation, I feel like, with gaming and indie games in general and games in general off of Steam, wherever it may be. You know, 5 years ago, I'm much more of a frugal in terms of purchasing games, because 5 years ago, I mean, I would just be like $30, $40 Steam. I mean, like my Steam library is like ridiculous now, and I look back and like, why did I? Most of these games, like, thankfully, they let you refund some of the time, like games that you never really played or played very minimum of, thankfully. But I think that's the big thing is, for me as a frugal gamer, and I'm assuming a lot of developers probably take the time to think about this small equation, but and I don't know if it's something that all developers should consider, but I think some may have to, and that's like the cost per hour for people that play games. Like, so a lot of people that are playing indie games in general are probably people that have, you know, professions or careers. They have very limited amount of time to play games in general. So people justify a game based off of how much it's going to cost them, based on replay value and stuff like that. So,
see, I play differently. Like my Steam library has over 1,000 games in it now, because I just get like with the frugal gaming you're talking about. I would buy like every bundle, you know, like every bundle that came out. It's like, oh, I can't argue with 10 games for $10. Then you start to realize that there are so many games in there because they're so, you know, the quality isn't always, you know, up to snuff. And I forgot where I was going with this.
You're like a QVC shopper.
That's pretty much how it was. Oh, the price per hour. It's tough because I have a game that I backed on Kickstarter. It's an infinite game. It's a really cool looking game. It plays. It's procedurally generated, so it plays out forever. But that versus, like, I would rather play that for a small amount of time and get, you know, what I don't know what I'm trying to say. Basically, like, I guess I choose quality over quantity. Like, I would rather play a game that's, you know, $20 and 8 hours long that is phenomenal versus a game that's, you know, even $5 but is infinite that's just okay.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting too, because it's funny whenever I'm you know, working with or talking to indie devs about just essentially on the marketing front and telling them, like, when it comes down to like price point of the game and such. And I tell them you kind of reverse engineer everything. So what's the amount of hours and everything that you put into it? And I know this is very subjective too, because depending on if it's a team, if it's a solo dev, whatever their situation is, the hours could range from X to Y on very different spectrums. So then when they start boiling down their price point, and then obviously there's other variables and factors like, oh, how many anticipated sales do you have, and also what's reasonable for the market, that type of stuff. They come up with that price point. But then let's say that game that took like 3 years to make, right? And whatever that is from an hour perspective. And then they come up with a reasonable price point for that, and anticipating how many sales it would take and everything else, so they would break even. on that. But then let's say it's only an 8-hour game. And so then what it comes down to, I think, is kind of what Justin was talking about, is like quality over just simply quantity. And still, it's